Welcome, dear friend, and thank you for choosing to rest here for a while. One does think it is very important to have a place of quiet refuge, and this story has been crafted with just that in mind, to offer a gentle sanctuary where you might find contentment and drift easily into sleep. Should you find this time together comforting, a simple like, a kind subscription, or a quiet comment is always deeply appreciated. Tonight, we will be visiting the Ethelberg Orrery, a place of profound peace high in the silent mountains. Here, in the gentle company of an old friend and a quiet cartographer, you will discover the soft magic of luminous seams that glow with warmth and map the beautiful cadence of fallow stars. Prepare to feel the world grow still, allowing a deep and restful calm to settle over you like the kindest of blankets. Chapter 1. The Orrery of Silence. The path to the Ethelberg Orrery did not announce itself with any great fanfare. It was simply a parting in the tall, soft grasses of the high meadow, a trail of dark, yielding earth that seemed to invite one's footsteps. Corwin felt the world grow quieter with each step, the air becoming cooler and cleaner, carrying the delicate scent of wild alpine blossoms and the faintest hint of pine. He had walked for what felt like a very peaceful length of time, his thoughts unspooling gently behind him until only a quiet sense of anticipation remained. And then he saw it. The orrery was not perched on a dramatic cliff, but was nestled in a gentle curve of the valley, as if the mountain itself were cradling it. It was a perfectly circular building of pale, seamless wood that seemed to have grown from the earth, its surface smooth and warm-looking, even in the fading light of the afternoon. A great open cupola at its peak looked up at the vast, pale blue sky, waiting. Stepping across the threshold was like stepping into a place of deep, ancient peace. All sound from the outside world seemed to fall away, replaced by a silence that was not empty but full and resonant, like a single sustained, inaudible note. Corwin felt it settle over him, a comforting weight that gently smoothed the creases from his brow and slowed the rhythm of his breathing. The air inside was still and smelled wonderfully of things that take a long time to become themselves, of old, well-cared-for wood, of the dry, sweet fragrance of vellum, and a faint, lingering trace of lavender, as if someone had passed through with a bundle of it hours before. The warmth was immediate, a gentle, ambient heat that seemed to radiate from the very walls, soothing his travel-worn limbs. His eyes, now adjusted to the soft, diffused light, took in the grand chamber. The walls curved around him in a perfect, unbroken circle, their pale wood grain flowing in patterns like slow-moving water. There were no sharp corners here, only gentle curves and soft edges. In the center of the vast room stood the great orrery itself. It was an immense and intricate model of the heavens, crafted from a softly gleaming brass that did not glitter, but instead held the light, absorbing it and giving back a gentle honeyed glow. The spheres and rings were still, a silent testament to cosmic journeys long past, their surfaces polished to a dull, smooth sheen by countless caring hands. The floor beneath his feet was the same pale wood, its surface worn smooth over centuries, feeling solid and kind beneath the soft soles of his boots. Corwin moved further into the room, his hand instinctively reaching out to touch the curved wall. The wood was impossibly smooth and held a surprising warmth, like a sun-warmed patch of earth. He could feel a very faint, very low vibration under his palm, a barely there hum that seemed to be the lifeblood of the place. It was a deeply calming sensation, a feeling of being connected to something vast, steady, and unendingly peaceful. The light in the orrery was a wonder in itself. It did not seem to come from any single source, but to be an inherent quality of the space, filtering down from the high cupola and reflecting from the brass in long, soft beams that painted the air with a gentle golden hue. As he stood there, simply breathing in the profound quiet, a figure emerged from a curved doorway he hadn't noticed before. She was an older woman with kind eyes and a serene expression, her movements unhurried and graceful. She held a steaming ceramic mug in her hands, and the delicate sweet scent of chamomile drifted towards him. She offered it with a small welcoming smile, her voice, and she spoke, as soft as the rustle of old paper. "Welcome to the orrery," she said simply. "I am Nora. You must be Corwin. I have been expecting you." The words were a gentle addition to the silence, not a disruption of it. Corwin took the mug, its warmth immediately seeping into his palms. The tea smelled of home and comfort, a simple kindness that seemed to perfectly encapsulate the feeling of this place. He looked from Nora's gentle face to the grand, silent model of the cosmos, and then up to the circle of sky visible through the cupola, where the blue was already deepening into the first soft shades of twilight. He felt a sense of arrival, not just to a destination, but to a state of being. The long journey, the quiet anticipation had all led to this. Here, in the orrery of silence, held within its warm wooden embrace, he felt he had finally found a place where he could simply be. The quiet of the chamber was a living thing, punctuated only by the softest of sounds. Corwin became aware of the gentle sigh of the wind as it passed over the cupola high above, a distant murmuring lullaby. He could hear the slow, even pattern of his own breathing and the soft, rhythmic beat of his own heart, which seemed to have found the same peaceful cadence as the orrery itself. The great brass machine stood motionless, yet it felt deeply alive, its silence a form of potent expression. Its stillness was not an absence of motion, but a perfect, harmonious balance. Nora gestured towards a large, beautifully carved wooden desk that curved along one section of the wall. Upon it lay a single large sheet of rolled parchment held in place by two smooth, dark river stones. "Your workstation," she said, her voice a gentle murmur. "Everything is as you asked. The charts of the known heavens are in the drawers. The fallow charts, well, they are waiting to be made." A sense of gentle purpose settled over Corwin, a quiet joy at the prospect of the work ahead. This was not a task to be rushed, but a practice to be savored, a slow and meditative exploration of the quietest corners of the universe, conducted from the most peaceful place on earth. Chapter 2. The First Charting. The next morning, Corwin approached the great curved desk, feeling a gentle sense of purpose settle upon him like a familiar, well-loved cloak. The vast sheet of parchment lay waiting, its surface a soft, creamy expanse that seemed to hold all the quiet potential of the starlit sky. He ran his hand over it, feeling the fine, fibrous texture, a surface that was smooth, yet held a subtle tooth, perfect for the work ahead. The air in the orrery was cool and still, carrying the same comforting sense of wood and old paper from the day before, now mingled with the faint, clean aroma of dew from the high mountain grasses. The light was different now, a soft, pearlescent gray that filtered down from the cupola, painting the brass orrery in shades of silver and pewter. It was a light that encouraged slow thought and careful movement. He sat on a simple wooden stool that seemed to have been carved to fit the contours of a body at rest, its surface worn to a comfortable smoothness over many years. From a leather roll, he carefully unwrapped his tools. They were simple instruments, a series of long, thin brass rulers, a compass of dark gleaming wood, and the stylus. The stylus was his most treasured possession, a long, slender piece of pale wood, much like the walls of the orrery itself, with a tip of what looked like solidified moonlight. It felt perfectly balanced in his hand, cool and smooth to the touch. He took a deep, slow breath, the peaceful silence of the great room filling his lungs, and prepared to begin his work. Before he could make the first mark, Nora appeared at his side as quietly as a passing thought. She placed a small wooden tray on the desk beside his parchment. On it sat a steaming mug of what smelled like chamomile and honey, its gentle floral aroma a perfect complement to the room's deep quiet. There was also a small plate with a single warm oat cake, glistening faintly with melted butter. "One cannot map the heavens on an empty stomach," she said, her voice a soft murmur that was part of the room's own peaceful hum. "It is a known fact." Her kindness was as simple and nourishing as the small meal she offered, a gesture of pure, uncomplicated care that warmed Corwin from the inside out. He took a sip of the tea, its gentle heat spreading through his chest, and then picked up the stylus. The first task was to chart the known stars, the familiar constellations that still shone brightly, to create a framework for the silence he sought to map. He touched the tip of the stylus to the parchment. It left no ink, no graphite, but a thin, delicate line of faint, silvery light that seemed to hover just above the page, glowing with a soft, internal luminescence. The only sound was the faintest whisper, a sound like dry leaves skittering across a smooth surface. As the tool moved across the paper, the act was rhythmic and deeply meditative, his arm moving in slow, deliberate arcs. Hours seemed to melt away, flowing as smoothly and quietly as sand in a timeless hourglass. Corwin became lost in the gentle work, his entire world shrinking to the glowing lines on the parchment and the vast, peaceful silence of the room. The grand brass orrery stood as his silent companion, its motionless spheres seeming to offer quiet encouragement. He charted Ursa Minor and Cygnus, his hand steady and his mind clear, feeling the deep satisfaction of bringing order to a small patch of paper, a reflection of the grand serene order of the cosmos. The light from the cupola slowly shifted, turning from gray to a soft, warm cream as the sun climbed higher in the sky, its changing angle casting long, slow-moving shadows across the wooden floor. Nora moved about the orrery with a quiet, unhurried grace that was a joy to watch. She polished the brass rings of the great celestial model, her cloth moving in slow, circular motions that made the metal hum with a low, contented sound. The scent of the lavender-scented polish she used was subtle and clean, a fresh note in the ancient air. She did not speak, and Corwin did not feel the need to fill the silence. Their companionship was a comfortable shared presence, an unspoken understanding that this was a place for quiet being, for gentle work, and for the simple appreciation of stillness. At one point, Corwin paused, resting his hand on the desk. He closed his eyes, simply feeling the atmosphere of the room. He felt the solidness of the floor beneath him, the gentle warmth of the air on his skin, and the profound, deep quiet that seemed to press in from all sides, a gentle, reassuring hug from the universe itself. He could feel the tension he often carried in his shoulders had simply dissolved, melted away by the warmth and peace of this extraordinary place. He was not just observing the quiet of the orrery. He was becoming part of it. When he finally set the stylus down, a significant portion of the known sky was beautifully rendered on his chart, its lines glowing with a soft, steady light. He felt a sense of peaceful accomplishment, a quiet satisfaction that had no sharp edges of pride or ego. He looked over at Nora, who was now sitting in a simple wooden chair near the great orrery, mending a tear in a piece of soft linen. She looked up and met his gaze, a small, knowing smile on her lips. In that shared, silent glance, a whole conversation passed between them, one of appreciation, of understanding, and of a shared love for this haven of tranquility. The first charting was complete, and the real work, the charting of the silence, could now begin. Chapter 3. The Luminous Seams. As the days settled into a gentle, unhurried rhythm, Corwin began the true purpose of his journey, mapping the fallow stars. This was a different kind of work, one that required less technical precision and more a kind of quiet listening with the soul. He would sit for long periods, simply gazing at the empty spaces on his chart, the dark voids between the glowing, familiar constellations. He was not looking for something that was there, but rather paying homage to what was absent, tracing the faint memory of light, the gentle echo of stars that had long ago gone quiet. The stylus in his hand felt different now, less a tool of measurement and more like a dowsing rod for serenity. It was on the third day of this new work that the orrery revealed one of its deepest secrets. Corwin was tracing the outline of a long vanished constellation, a great celestial river that, according to old texts, had once flowed through the northern sky. His hand moved slowly, the glowing tip of the stylus leaving a faint, shimmering trail on the parchment. As he connected the final 2 points of the ancient star pattern, something remarkable happened. A soft, golden light bloomed on the surface of the wooden desk beneath his chart, and he felt a gentle warmth spread up through the parchment and into his fingertips. He lifted the chart carefully, his heart given a quiet, wondrous leap. There, in the pale, smooth grain of the ancient wood, an intricate pattern had appeared, glowing with a soft, warm, honey-colored light. It looked like a network of fine, golden threads woven directly into the desk itself, a secret map that mirrored the silent constellation he had just drawn. He traced one of the glowing lines with his long finger. The wood was warm to the touch, not hot, but with the deep, penetrating warmth of a sun-soaked piece of timber on a perfect summer's day. The light seemed to pulse with a slow, steady rhythm like a sleeping heartbeat, and the warmth seeped into his skin, a deeply comforting sensation that traveled up his arm and settled in his chest. Nora, who had been watering a small pot of night-blooming jasmine near the entrance, came over, her footsteps making no sound on the wooden floor. She looked at the glowing pattern on the desk and smiled a smile of deep, familiar fondness. "Ah," she murmured, her voice filled with gentle wonder, as if seeing an old friend. "The wood remembers. It always remembers a kindness." She explained that the entire orrery was built from the wood of a single colossal starlight tree, a type of tree that did not exist anymore. For 1,000 years, it had grown in this valley, its leaves drinking in the light of the stars. The light it absorbed, she said, was stored in its heartwood, sleeping. "The wood loves patterns of harmony and quiet," Nora continued, her hand hovering just above the glowing seams, feeling their gentle heat. "When you trace something that is whole and peaceful, even if it is a memory of something lost, the wood awakens to share its warmth. It is its way of saying thank you." Corwin looked down at the luminous seams, utterly captivated. This was a magic that was not loud or dramatic, but quiet, gentle, and deeply kind. It was a magic that grew from stillness and appreciation, a natural expression of the peace that permeated this place. He spent the rest of the afternoon discovering more of these hidden patterns. He would trace another fallow constellation on his chart, and as he completed the shape, a new network of golden light would awaken in the desk, each one unique and beautiful. He found that the warmth they emitted was always the same, a steady, soothing heat that seemed to untie knots he never knew he had. His shoulders, which often held a baseline of tension from long hours of focused work, felt loose and light. The gentle warmth seemed to penetrate deep into his bones, leaving him with a feeling of profound physical ease and well-being. The scent in the room seemed to change, too. As more of the luminous seams awakened, a faint, sweet, and slightly spicy aroma began to fill the air, the scent of the ancient starlit wood itself. It mingled with the chamomile and lavender, creating a fragrance that was incredibly soothing. a scent that seemed to quiet the mind and encourage a state of gentle waking dreaminess. Corwin felt enveloped by the sensory comforts of the orrery, held in a tapestry of soft light, gentle warmth, and calming aromas. Later, as twilight began to fill the cupola with shades of violet and indigo, Corwin rested his forearms on the desk, feeling the warmth of several intersecting patterns seep into him. The glow from the seams cast a soft golden light on his face and hands, a much kinder and more personal light than any candle could provide. He realized that the orrery was not just a passive building, a repository of silence. It was a gentle, living participant in his work. It responded to his quiet efforts with its own form of gentle encouragement, offering him comfort and a tangible sense of connection to the peaceful history of this valley. The magic was not in the stars he was mapping, but in the quiet, harmonious act of mapping itself, an act that woke the gentle, sleeping light in the heart of the wood. Chapter 4. The Harmony of Silence. A gentle and comfortable routine began to form, as natural and unforced as the rising and setting of the sun seen through the great cupola. Corwin would wake with the soft gray light of dawn, his mind feeling clear and uncluttered, as if the profound quiet of the orrery had washed it clean during his sleep. His small room, connected to the main chamber, was simple and spare, furnished with a comfortable bed of soft linens and a small wooden table. The same pale wood of the orrery formed the walls, and he often woke to find a faint, gentle warmth radiating from them, a soft echo of the previous day's work. The feeling of being held and cared for by the very structure he inhabited was a constant, comforting presence. His days were spent at the curved desk, mapping the silent constellations. The work was no longer a series of actions, but had become a state of being. His mind, once prone to flitting from one thought to another, now settled into a state of quiet focus. The constant, gentle sensory input of the orrery provided the perfect anchor. He was aware of the soft, unchanging hum that vibrated through the floor, the subtle shifts in the scent of the air as Nora tended her herbs, and the steady, reliable warmth that bloomed in the wood beneath his hands each time he completed a new peaceful pattern on his chart. These sensations wove a cocoon of tranquility around him, a space where anxious thoughts simply could not find purchase. One afternoon, Nora brought a small wooden box to his desk. "The lenses could use a bit of care," she said softly. "It is a peaceful task if you have a mind for it." Inside the box, nestled on a bed of soft, dark cloth, were several of the smaller lenses from the observatory's great telescope. They were crafted from a material Corwin had never seen before, a smooth, dark substance that seemed to absorb the light, looking like perfectly polished, solidified night. He picked one up. It was cool to the touch and surprisingly light, feeling almost weightless in his palm. The texture was sublime, smoother than glass, smoother than water, a surface of perfect, uninterrupted stillness. Together, he and Nora sat on the floor near the base of the great telescope, each with a lens and a soft, clean cloth. They worked in a comfortable shared silence, the only sound the faint, rhythmic whisper of cloth against the unique material. The repetitive motion was incredibly calming. Corwin watched his hands move in slow, deliberate circles, his breathing naturally falling into rhythm with the motion. He felt no need to rush, no desire to finish the task. The purpose was not in the completion, but in the gentle, mindful process itself. He polished not just to clean the lens, but for the pure, simple joy of the quiet activity. As he worked, he noticed the strange acoustic properties of the lenses. When he held one close to his ear, he could hear a low, resonant hum, the same deep, peaceful sound that seemed to permeate the entire orrery. It was the sound of silence itself, the great, quiet song of deep space that the lenses were designed to gather. He closed his eyes, focusing on that gentle vibration, and felt it in his bones, a sonorous hum that seemed to align every part of him into a state of perfect, harmonious rest. It was a sound that spoke directly to the quietest parts of his soul, reassuring them that all was well, that all was peaceful. After a time, Nora rose and went to prepare tea. Corwin continued his gentle work, feeling a profound sense of acceptance settle over him. He was not striving for anything, not reaching for a goal. He was simply present, here in this moment, polishing a lens, breathing the calm air, feeling the gentle hum of the universe. It was a feeling of being completely and utterly in his right place, a sense of belonging that was deeper than any he had ever known. His own thoughts had become like the fallow stars he charted, quiet, present in their absence, and part of a much larger, peaceful whole. When Nora returned with 2 steaming mugs, the lenses were all gleaming with a soft, dark luster. They set them carefully back in their box and sat together, sipping the warm, honey-sweetened tea. Outside, the sky was beginning to bruise with the colors of evening. They did not speak of anything important, only remarking on the pleasant warmth of the tea and the lovely way the fading light caught the brass of the orrery. Their conversation was like their shared silence, easy and comfortable, a gentle exchange that required no effort and produced no friction. It was the simple communion of 2 quiet souls enjoying a peaceful moment together. Looking at his nearly completed chart, Corwin felt a quiet gratitude swell in his chest. The glowing lines of the fallow constellations crisscrossed the parchment, and the desk beneath it was a warm, radiant tapestry of luminous golden seams. The chart was becoming a thing of beauty, but its true value was not in its appearance. It was a physical record of his journey into stillness, each line a testament to a moment of quiet focus and peaceful being. The harmony he had been seeking was not just in the patterns of the stars, but in the silence between them, a silence he was finally learning to hear. Chapter 5. A Constellation of Being. The morning of his final day of charting dawned with an exceptional stillness. A soft, thick mist had settled in the valley overnight, and it filled the great cupola, diffusing the morning light into an ethereal pearly glow that made the entire orrery feel like a room floating in the clouds. The air was soft and cool on the skin and carried the clean, earthy scent of damp soil and wet leaves. Corwin felt a sense of gentle finality, not of sadness, but of a peaceful and natural conclusion. The great chart, now almost full, lay on his desk, its many lines of silvery light glowing softly in the misty air. Only one small, silent constellation remained to be traced. He sat at the desk, taking a moment to simply absorb the atmosphere. The luminous seams from his previous work still held a residual warmth, making the ancient wood feel alive and welcoming beneath his hands. The deep, resonant hum of the orrery seemed a little closer this morning, a constant, comforting companion to his thoughts. He picked up the stylus, its smooth, cool surface, a familiar comfort in his palm. He felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey this simple tool had taken him on, a journey across vast, silent oceans of parchment, navigating by the memory of gentle light. With a slow, steady hand, he began to trace the final pattern. It was a small, delicate constellation, known in the old texts as the Hearthkeeper's Knot, a looping, intricate shape that was said to bring a sense of quiet contentment to those who observed it. As the glowing tip of the stylus moved, he was not thinking about lines or points, but was simply immersed in the flowing motion. His breathing was deep and even, his mind perfectly still, focused only on the gentle act of creation. The soft whisper of the stylus on the parchment was the only sound in the mist-filled room, a sound of quiet magic being made. When he connected the final point, the effect was more profound than ever before. A brilliant, warm golden light bloomed in the desk, the seams of the Hearthkeeper's Knot joining with all the others he had traced. The entire surface of the vast, curved desk was now a magnificent, radiant network of interwoven light, a complete map of quiet harmony. The warmth that rose from it was immense, a wave of deep, penetrating comfort that enveloped him completely. And with the light came a new sound. The gentle hum of the orrery deepened, and for the first time it resolved into a soft, melodic chord, a sound of such perfect peace that it felt like the universe itself was exhaling a gentle sigh of relief. Nora stood by the entrance watching, her hands clasped before her. A smile of pure, serene joy was on her face. She had seen this happen before, but the wonder of it never faded. The orrery was complete again, its sleeping heart fully awakened by an act of quiet, patient devotion. The air itself seemed to shimmer with a gentle golden energy, and the sweet, spicy scent of the starlight wood filled the room, a fragrance of pure tranquility. Corwin felt the gentle music of the orrery vibrating not just in his bones, but in his very spirit. He stood up and looked down at his work. The chart was beautiful, a glowing tapestry of silver light on a field of cream. But he knew, with a deep and certain knowing, that the real map was not the one on the parchment. The real map was the feeling that now resided within him. He had charted the empty spaces in the heavens, and in doing so, had discovered the quiet, peaceful space within himself. He had traced the cadence of fallow stars and had found his own calm, steady rhythm. The stillness he had sought was not something to be found, but something to be remembered. Later that day, as the mist cleared and the late afternoon sun cast long, gentle shadows across the valley, Corwin stood with Nora by the open doorway of the Orrery, looking out at the peaceful landscape. He held a warm mug of tea, its steam curling up into the cool air. He knew that his official work here was done, that he could roll up his chart and return to the great library. But the thought held no appeal. The idea of leaving this sanctuary of peace felt like trying to unbreathe a lungful of clean mountain air. He turned to Nora. "I think," he said, his voice quiet but clear, "that there are many other silences that need mapping." Nora's smile was all the answer he needed. She simply nodded, her eyes reflecting the deep, peaceful blue of the evening sky. Corwin looked up at the vast celestial canvas above, where the first true stars were beginning to appear, shining with a familiar, steady light. They were beautiful, but no more beautiful than the quiet, invisible patterns that now glowed with warmth in his heart. He had arrived at the Orrery of silence, seeking stillness, and he had found it. He was home.